Welcome to the Siblings Movie Reviews Podcast. I'm your host, Rashad. Joining me, as always, is my sister, Richauna.
Hello.
And my wife, Mika.
Hey, hey.
Today, we are reviewing the movie The Equalizer 3. This is going to be a non-spoiler reaction plus a full spoiler review. The Equalizer Part 3 is starring Denzel Washington as Robert McCall and Dakota Fanning as Emma. It's directed by Antoine Fugua. Brief summary of the plot. Robert McCall finds himself at home in southern Italy, but he discovers his friends are under the control of local crime bosses. As events turn deadly, Robert McCall knows what he has to do, become his friend's protector, and take on the mafia. Alright, this movie, I thought it was a solid movie. I wouldn't say it's the best one in the series. It's probably about the second best one for me. It was very slow at parts. I think the pace was a little bit slow. But, it still had a lot of the action and stuff that, has been true to this franchise. Denzel Washington continues to be, a great actor. This was almost a surprise hit when the original came out back in 2014 amongst both the critics and the fans. Now, the critics didn't love it. I think the critics gave it a 61%, which it was still fresh, but the fans gave it a 76%. So it sparked this entire franchise, which spinned off into the second film, which came out in 2018. And then now it also had a TV series which was starring Queen Latifah, and her name was Robin McCall. Now, I haven't watched that series at all, so I don't know if it ties into the movies at all, but I think that series still
is good. It gives the same kind of feel.
It is very good. I have watched a few episodes, and yeah, it is good. I don't know if it ties in with the movie at all either, or the original that came out, I believe, in the 80s.
Yeah, so that series started in 2021, I believe, and so that leads us into this film. So it's, again, like I said, the pace was very slow, and for some reason in my mind it felt like it was a little bit more gory and violent than the other ones. Now, the other ones have always had, some gritty violence and action in it, and just, I don't know what it was. Maybe because we saw it in IMAX. It was just, the sound was more intense, but it just felt like
it was about the same, to be honest.
It just felt like some of those kills were more gruesome to me. I don't know why. But overall, I like this movie. I think it was a solid entry in the franchise. Like I said, I think the first one was the best one overall. But I do recommend seeing this one. So, go ahead, Mika.
Well, I'm a Denzel fan. So, I love me some Denzel. I don't think there's really a movie or too many movies that I can say that I did not like. Well, I guess maybe a couple that I just did not like the specific movie, but we won't go into that. But overall, Denzel is by far one of the best actors, male actors that I love. He always has his Denzel swag. I mean, he puts it on there. So for me, I was very excited, very hyped to see the movie. And again, he never disappoints, in my personal opinion. I would say that this movie kind of, I guess the feel of it was probably, I would say, a little bit slower than the first two movies, because I've seen all three. Like I said, I'm a Denzel fan. Right. But in any case, I think that the third one probably had a little bit slower feel, and I just may say just because of him and his character already being retired as he is, and then, getting a little bit older, and, he's kind of like, I don't know, I guess in a sense of finding himself and where he is and deciding, is this where I want to be, where I feel like I'm called to be here in this particular place. And so I don't think his set intentions was to do what he's doing per se, to continue on what he's doing, but he finds himself in these situations to where he gets back on board, and he's being Denzel, he's being the equalizer in these situations, trying to make it do what it do to help the people out that he comes to love, and the community that he loves to be around, because he he kind of becomes one with the community and just, has a love for the people. And he has this love to want to help people overall. So when he sees somebody do wrong or somebody being treated unfairly, that instinct of him and what he used to do just kicks in to where I gotta be Papa, I gotta be Big Daddy, whatever you want to call it, for lack of better words, to step in and just trying to like help, just kind of help them out. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's maybe my term is a little bit off, but you're trying to think of a term that I can think of that he wants to be the man to try. Okay, we'll go with that.
Savior.
The savior, the hero. Well, it wasn't coming to my mind right now. I'm thinking about Denzel and his swag and him just trying to step in and do what he do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought it was still a good movie in spite of it being slower than the previous movies. It was still very action packed.
Yeah. Okay, Shauna.
Well, it's already been said that the pacing was slow, and I don't want to repeat what's already been said. I'll just say for me, it was tough to follow. It was something that I was sitting there trying to understand, and I actually thought that I needed to watch previous films. I was excited about this film because we hadn't seen Denzel in a movie in quite a while. And so I was excited to see it because I actually did not know that he's been a part of this movie version of the Equalizer saga. And so I understand that there are 2 other movies before this one.
Yes.
I hadn't seen those. I didn't do any pre-work for this. I've been out of town, y'all, so I am actually jet lagged because I just came back this morning. So sorry if I look a little bit drained because I am. I've been flying across the world. But anyway, the movie was difficult for me to follow and connect the dots. And even though I'm a person who likes to do that, it was just a little bit much at times. I did enjoy the movie, despite that. I once I understood, what was happening, I did come to enjoy it. So, if you are a fan of Denzel, if you are a fan of the Equalizer story, that whole universe and all, and you followed from the 80s up to now, then I think you'll like this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So now we're going to go into our spoiler section. And again, for all the people that do not want this movie spoiled, we thank you for listening. We thank you for watching. Now we're going to give you a fair warning. 3, 2, 1. We're in spoilers. So now let's get into spoilers. So again, I'll talk about some of the details. So for these films, what always strikes me about these films, they have a certain continuity, and what I mean by that is that people that are actors on Denzel Washington's level, he brings a certain swag or energy to the film that without him, I think he makes this movie. As far as he always has certain quirks, certain characteristics that he adds to the character. I don't know if he's supposed to be I can't remember what the medical terminology is, but he does certain stuff in a specific way. Like he'll always, if he
times himself.
Drinking his tea, he'll tap it 3 times, or he'll fold his napkin in a certain way, or when he's about to kill somebody, he'll set his watch, 6 seconds, 9 seconds, 3 seconds, and that has always been details that I've loved about this movie. I mean, it adds to the depth of the character. So when this opens up, what kind of threw me off a little bit is I was trying to understand why this movie had to be shot in Italy, because the last one, I think we were in Chicago. Was it Chicago was the second one filmed in? So, they talk about why he's there later, but they don't tell you what's going on in the beginning. So you're coming in and, they're in the little wine cellar, and you start to see a bunch of bodies around, and you're like, man, what's going on? What's all these bodies? And you come to find out, Denzel is the person that done all the killing. And it's like when they start getting into the killing scenes, it's just I don't know. You said it wasn't as graphic, but man, because he stabbed the guy through the eye, and I was like,
I mean, I think he did. I mean, honestly, I think he's done that. I mean, it's the same MO in all the movies. I mean,
I don't know, man, because
it's trained skill. I mean, he's definitely has exemplified all the skills that he had that he learned. I mean, that's what his character is. All the skill, all the training that he has had, he has put into place, which is why he's, when he goes on the mission to do whatever he has to do, he sets a time. He sets his little watch.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to take me 9 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it's going to take for me to get this guy. I'm looking at the corner of my eye, and I can see what these guys are getting ready to do to where he's making his move. So all that is playing into his training, to his skills of what he has and what he has learned and how he's putting that into play. So as far as the gruesomeness, maybe it's just because we ain't seen it in a while that, it seemed like it's more gruesome or you right up front. But to me, the killing has probably been about the same.
I don't know. We just watched the second one, and I don't think the second one was as gruesome because even that scene where they're in the restaurant and he's I forgot the guy's name, but he's beating up one of the mafia guys.
I mean, did he not do the same thing with them?
Snapping his arm in half, and I was like, good Lord.
I mean, the other guy in the second movie, when he broke his fingers in half, cut the face with the credit card. I mean, so it was, I think it's all had, up to me, my personal opinion, about the same level of gruesomeness. It's just maybe a little bit different.
Yeah, and then the only other thing that kind of struck me is that so Denzel is 68 years old in real life. So I don't know if they intentionally wrote that into the script, but there's a scene where Denzel gets shot and injured, and you can kind of tell that, I don't know, it limits him to a point where, he's not as mobile as he needs to be, because in past movies he could get around a little bit, you could see kind of like his fighting style and stuff. But in this movie he's a little bit limited, and I don't know if they did that deliberately. Like I said, for these type of movies you gotta suspend some disbelief, because Denzel 68, I mean, ain't nobody, I don't care who you are, you ain't gonna just be whooping up on nobody at 68 years old.
Maybe.
And he's walking around with the cane. Like I said, I don't know if they did that deliberately to kind of say, okay, he's at a different stage. He didn't have to be so coordinated and technical. He can kind of use his mind and attack people from the shadows. Like he did that more in this movie than he had in the past movie. So like I said, I don't know if they did that on purpose to kind of say like, hey, we know Denzel was 68 years old.
I mean, it's probably definitely was a thought of mine that maybe they took a
kind of like
a slower pace.
Yeah.
Like with having the cane and stuff like that. But I will say, even with that, because it's Denzel and because it's the movie that it is, he was still able to be quick on his feet. They gave him time to heal so that he could get back on his feet to do what he had to do. That's why I said the movie still kind of played out like it was a little bit slower, because it was definitely action, but I think the other ones had more action because he had to do a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But this movie, they gave him, he had like 3 weeks to heal before he actually had to really get himself into play. He got himself acclimated with the country that he was in and decided to stay a little bit longer because he was seeing he felt like it was his calling to kind of help these people out and then trying to solve the case as well. So.
Okay. Well, those are kind of just the things that I was like, I liked the movie. I thought it was a really solid movie overall, but
To you guys' point, I thought that it was maybe like they were doing it like they did Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they took into account his actual age.
Yeah.
And they did things a little bit different. So I thought that could be possibly the reason why it was a little different.
Yeah.
Because you said like he used his mind versus physicality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, he still used physicality, but it wasn't as present as it was in past movies. So.
I kind of think of Sylvester Stallone in his movies, and he's kind of slowed down. You think about Creed, and like he's getting older, but they still try to give him his little swag of, how he does things. So I do think that maybe age could have taken a little part in it, but when we say that, to me, it's definitely no shade to Denzel, because Denzel always comes 100.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to me, his acting is always 100% on point. He's still one of my favorite actors. So when I say slower, I don't mean that in a negative way. It just seemed like the tone, the pace was a little bit slower. And in my opinion, because this was the third movie, in the way that it was, I just kind of feel like this may be the last one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the last one.
I don't foresee them doing a fourth Equalizer.
No.
I think we kind of get the point of it. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have anything other spoilers to add?
To me, I just think it was good overall. I mean, we got a chance to, they tied in, we kept trying to figure out who Emma was. Emma was the cop in this movie, and I was trying to figure out what her significance in this movie was. That ended up being tied, up at the end for us to see, oh, her mother was the character that was in the first two movies, which was Denzel's best friend.
Yeah.
What was her name? Jenny?
I don't remember what her name was.
I forget the mom's name, but her and Denzel were like tight. They were in. They had both been trained together, so they had been friends throughout all these years. And in the previous movie, the mom was murdered, and Denzel solved the mom's murder basically in Equalizer number 2, and took care of that situation. So in this movie, this cop comes in. He's calling her, kind of giving her information. He knew exactly what number to call to get directly to her, trying to give her clues and different things on what to look into. And out the course of this, she shows up where he is having tea and trying to figure out what's what. And then she's asking him, why me? Why are you choosing me? And then everything always end up somehow tying in at the end. And then when he kind of gives the whole big reveal to her, then she sees, oh, he knew my mother. So that explained her character. But the whole time I was trying to figure out who she was and what her significance was. But again, we found that out at the end. Okay. So yeah, but I think when it comes to these movies, like we've kind of discussed before, I don't think that you have to really watch the first two movies. To me, it's kind of like the other, what movie did I say? Or like Fast and Furious. Some stuff may tie, but some stuff may not. Or, whatever. Or what was Mission Impossible. Every Mission Impossible movie, some stuff may tie in, but they always have like a different mission that they're completing. So with this movie, it didn't tie in necessarily to the previous movies, but like there were some things that he may have had a flashback on, or the fact that Emma was his best friend's daughter, and that's how that tied in. Or, the person that he helped at the end of the movie, getting the guy's pension back, he happened to be a cab driver for him. You know what I'm saying? From the previous whatever. But, so different things like that. Every movie has had its own storyline. But overall, I mean, I still loved it. I still loved Denzel. So I thought it was pretty good. It was very action-packed. So to me, I felt very engaged.
All right, Shauna?
I don't have much to add because I generally do like the walkthrough and the breakdown of the story.
Yeah.
I think if I did that, it would take a lot of time. So I'm just going to say that in the end, I like the way that it ended. I like that the good prevailed. And it was kind of, again, it was a bit hard for me to follow and not really understanding how the characters tied in with one another, the transitioning of the scene, and, the introducing of new people. When you haven't followed a story and you're coming into a movie brand new, it helps if, at least for me anyway, it helps if there is some sort of explanation, whether it be visual or whether it be through dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think, as much as I will say that I like this movie, it was lacking that for me. So, like I said, normally you guys, I walk through, but a lot of the stuff that I would say has already been said. Mm-hmm. So with in the interest of saving time and not repeating, I'm just going to say that.
Okay. Well, I don't think I have anything else to add. I had some notes behind the history of the movie, which I think I've already mentioned.
Do you have who was the original actor for the TV show?
No, yeah, you mentioned that when we were talking earlier, and I had totally forgot that it started out as a TV series back in the, 90s?
1985 is when it started. and it was Edward Woodard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never heard of him, but I do remember that show because my grandfather used to watch that show.
There were 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So it ran from 85 to 89. Mm-hmm. And then you said it started back up again with Queen Latifah in 2021?
Yeah, so I don't know. So I think that show is related to the movie. I don't think it had anything to do with the original TV series.
And Robin, she's had 3 seasons so far.
Yeah. Is that show good?
Oh, it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, it's very
because
good.
I'm like, how? Because for me, I'll say this. I think Denzel makes this movie, so I wouldn't imagine that Queen Latifah can carry a show and do it similar to the way that
she
does
been.
her thing.
Yes,
I give her 100% props for this. To me, she's just the girl version. And at the end of the day, at the end of every show,
she does all the violence.
Yes, she does. She put a gun in her hand and do what she gotta do. She fights people. Like she has her whole team with her that that she works with. Like undercover all the things. And so I mean, at the end of the day, just like every Equalizer movie ends out, every show ends up being where the good people end up winning. It ends up being a good, happy ending, and they end up getting the bad guys and bringing justice to the situation. So that's what I love about it. Mostly, it's not a show that I'm walking away from like, golly. Now within her show, some things may carry on. Like I feel like there's kind of like a love triangle, so to speak, with her and the cop guy, but it never really goes into much of nothing. Kind of like with this show here, I'm trying to figure out the love interest that Denzel had with this lady. I think her name was Mina or whatever her name was. Like,
was she a love interest?
Well, to me, I took it as a love interest. She wanted to go out on a date. And she wanted to show him around and all the things.
It doesn't matter her age.
That lady is 30 years younger.
Well, that
doesn't
matter.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
And nobody's talking about age in the movie. We looking at the people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
right.
that's all the things, right? I
right.
I mean, cat daddy, you know out here. I mean, the point is that
he got kids.
But this ain't real life. This is a movie, beloved. So, in any case,
good point.
She had they were kind of like a love interest, but to me, I was trying to figure out where was it going because they never really went back to it per se. All they really showed was he was staying in this city for a while because he was enjoying being with the people.
I thought he was actually trying to move there. I thought.
Oh yeah, I think he did move there at the end, didn't he? Because I mean, they showed him. They were celebrating like a football game or a soccer game
or something.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but it doesn't go in specifics in regards to around their little triangle that they've got going on amongst themselves. It was more like a victory with the whole city and their celebrations, but it wasn't geared toward just them specifically. So their little tidbit was kind of like a side piece to the movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's it. We'll wrap it up and go around the room and give our final thoughts and our rating. Like I said, I did enjoy this movie. I thought it was a solid movie. Currently getting a 75 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is surprising because, again, I thought it was a good movie. I think the first one is probably my favorite in the franchise, but this was a solid movie, and I think it had a pretty decent opening weekend. I think it made about $34 million. Yeah. And I looked it up, and I think the second one made a little bit more on its opening weekend at like 36 million. But shoot, 34 million is pretty solid. So I did enjoy this movie. So for that reason, I'll give it a 3. Just because of Denzel, he's always, he's world class. So. Mika?
Like I said, I enjoyed it. I was very engaged. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, there were some things that we did have questions about, trying to tie certain things together, like in regards to the mafia and the cop. I would have thought that they would have kind of brought that out, that the cop was working with the mafia, but it kind of really didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I had put that in my
situation.
Notes, and I wasn't sure about was he working with them or not, because the way that they killed him at the end, it was almost like they were angry at him, so I wasn't sure about what was going on with that, but I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, so I would give it a 4.
Okay, Shauna?
I give it a 2 because I could not follow it. I mean, I had trouble with understanding the transitions.
Mm-hmm.
I had trouble with knowing who the characters were. Mm-hmm. And for me, you know, not all movies have you watched, and I watch movies, don't get me wrong. But not all movies have I watched the whole story of it to be able to connect the dots. Mm-hmm. If I'm gonna watch a movie, I need something to give me a clue or hint to understand what I'm watching. And I struggled with that during this movie. I love Denzel. I love Antoine Fugua. I've watched many of both of their movies. But this one, I had some challenges. And so for that reason, I give it a 2.
All right, well, that's it. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening. For all our listeners, for all our followers, we're going to say it every time. We appreciate you
so much.
Thank you so much. And with that being said,
see you soon.